discuss in a very simple term the concept of cloud computing. What is cloud computing? Cloud computing is the provisioning and rental of computing resources to users. When a company is set out to build computing resources and rent it out to users, in most cases, the primary target of cloud computing companies are organizations, though individuals also may subscribe to their service and pay. So, in that simple term, cloud computing is when an organization is set out to build computing infrastructure and rent it out to multiple users to share the resources. In cloud computing, the provider of cloud service is called cloud service provider, while the organization or individual that rents such service is called cloud service client. And there has to be agreement between the cloud service provider and the cloud service client on the quantity, the quality, and the duration of renting the service or the infrastructure. We go into different types of cloud computing architecture later, but let's first look at some other things that are important. Now, at this point, if you are a new subscriber to this channel, I implore you to please subscribe, like the video, and share the video with your friends. Okay, so before the advent of cloud service companies or cloud service in general, organizations buy their own computing infrastructure and have them in-house, which we refer to as on-premise. And such infrastructure, computing resources in general, are managed by the organization's employees. The computing resources could be application, runtime, the middleware, servers, networking equipment, storage devices, and operating systems, to mention a few. All these are managed within the organization data center, where they are well stacked and provisioned for the operation of the business use. However, there was a need, discovered by the companies that started cloud service. Today, we have three major cloud service providers. We have Azure by Microsoft, we have AWS by Amazon, and we have the Google Cloud Platform by Google. Some of the services you have been enjoying are actually hosted in the cloud And let's go back to what does the word cloud mean? Cloud is a concept to describe the fact that you do not have direct contact with the computing resources you are using. They are provisioned from a distance and probably you are not in control. Cloud here does not refer to troposphere, stratosphere, and other atmospheric layers, as one may perceive when you first hear the word cloud computing. You might be thinking, cloud, what does cloud has to do with this? No, that is not what it refers to. Just because the resources are provisioned from a distance location. For example, you could be in China and be using the computer that is located in United States of America. You could be in Nigeria and you could be using the resources, the computing resources provision in India as if they are right there with you in your office. That is why it is referred to as cloud. So now, why was cloud service introduced? Let's look at the reasons. One is to create opportunity for shared computing resources. Let's take, for example, if I buy a computer and for my business, the computer I have just bought has a 1 terabyte of storage space, but my business only needs 350 gigabytes size of storage. Since that computing device come with that large space, it means that about 700 gigabytes of that storage or 600 will just be a waste. And to make sure that we close the gap of wastage in computing, then cloud computing was introduced. And do not forget that for each device you use, electric consumption is there. So you will be paying electric bill, wear and tear on the hardware. You will have to buy the software, different applications to install on the computer. And not only that, if you have to develop your application in-house, you know how many software engineer, testers, and so on you will have to employ. And if you can get that done somewhere and you are sure it is secure and it will provide efficiency, why not go for it? That's why many companies are going for cloud computing now and they are moving some of their operations into the cloud. Okay, another reason is to reduce overhead costs for the organization. I think I mentioned that in passing there. So the organization will not need to spend much on getting the resources needed for the business operation since they can rent these resources at a very cheaper price compared to having them on premise and managing them internally. Another thing is to reduce wastage, which I have mentioned along explaining the opportunity to share resources. Then it improves efficiency. The fifth one is that it helps organizations to focus on their core business operations. For example, if your organization is healthcare, you know that IT is a support service in that situation, or a retail company, banking, information technology, information security, line of businesses are but support services. The core service for the banking is provision of banking products, and the retail, the provisioning of the the service to retail or the product to retail. Similarly, in healthcare, the core of the business operation is to provide healthcare services, not to provide IT operations, not to manage database, manage network, and so on and so forth. So all that has to do with information technology and information cyber security fall within uh, support services. So in that situation, if organizations can get these support services provisioned from a distant location at a very cheap price, and they are sure that it is safe and secure, organizations will definitely go for it. This is one of the impetus that helped in building the cloud service we have today. Then increase security of resources. Since cloud service providers know this is their core business, they have no reason not to put in place the maximum security possible for the services they provide. And they know that the security of the services they provide is is one of the main reasons why organizations will want to patronize them. So that is also one of the reasons why organizations will want to opt for a cloud service. All right. Now let's move on to the next phase. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and share. Now let me give you example of cloud services you may be familiar with. One is Google Drive. If you are familiar with Google Drive, that is a cloud service which is open to the public. And we have the public architecture, we have the private cloud, we have the public cloud, and we have hybrid. Hybrid is when you have combination of public and private. Most organizations will go for private cloud. They will develop their own private cloud. But the public cloud is for everyone to subscribe to. All right. So Google Drive is provisioning of storage in the cloud. And you have a Google Cloud platform for the provisioning of infrastructure. Infrastructures like you want to run a virtual machine. Virtual machine is like you creating a computer. So running virtual machine and network devices, virtual network devices. So all those are provisioning of infrastructure. Then Office 365. And the first two I mentioned are provided by Google, but Microsoft has Office 365, which many of us may be using. And Office 365, you can sign in into it wherever you are. It is because it is in the cloud. Your Google Drive, you can access it on your phone anywhere you go because the storage is not on your computer. It's in the cloud. It's in Google Cloud. So that is why you can access it. Even if you travel abroad, you still have access to it. Same thing with your Office 365. Wherever you are, you can sign into it on another device. Okay, so that is all I'm going to say on this introduction into what cloud computing is. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this content. Thank you. In conclusion of this video on demystifying cloud computing for beginners, there are different kinds of cloud services. The most common three are infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform as a service. Others that are new are function as a service and everything as a service. Contrary to on-premise hosting of computing resources like server, operating systems, storage devices, networking devices, and applications, some or all of those are managed by the cloud service providers. Let us examine software as a service. In this cloud service type, applications and all other resources needed to provision and secure the application, the storage of the application's data and metadata is purely managed by the cloud service provider, the CSP. The cloud service client, that's the organization renting the service, only have access to the client application, which is installed on the cloud service client, that is the organizations or individual renting the application device. So it means that all that a cloud service client will have access to and able to manage is the application. It's not even managing the application. You only have access to it and is able to utilize the application. The management of the application from the beginning to the end lies with the cloud service provider in the case of software as a service. I use that is it means you only rent the application. You are not the owner of the application and you don't manage the application. You don't have access to the server where the application resides and where it is provisioned. So I use the word rent in place of subscribe just to drive the point home that the application is only used on a rental terms and conditions. Okay, let's look at platform as a service. For this service type, the cloud service provider does not manage the application you install on the platform you rent. So you rent the platform, but you have the application and the data. The cloud service provider manages the platform, which include resources like server, networking, storage, middleware that are needed for the application provisioning and deployment. Okay, so we move on now to the next one, which is the third one, infrastructure as a service. In the case of infrastructure as a service, this is when the cloud service client rents only the infrastructure which are managed by the cloud service provider. The infrastructure include virtual machine, so it allows for virtualization, storage space, networking devices, virtual networking devices, and servers. It means that the application, operating system, and data is managed by the client and not by the cloud service provider. So those are the three main types of cloud services. But there's also the new ones I mentioned earlier, which are function as a service and everything as a service. Thank you. Remember to subscribe to this channel, share the content, and you'll be notified when we upload a new video. Thank you.